almost got into it. I think I started to tell you about this. I almost got used. I mean, I almost got into it with this kid, this gospel rapper.
Yeah,
Kind
you
of,
told me.
yeah, he's a kind of high profile dude. Yeah, like Kirk Franklin at his wedding and different stars that you have heard of that we sing their songs are
Mm-hmm.
always like on his page and stuff. But he knows my cousins and things really well, you know, my aunts and things. So when he posted something on his page about Christianity not being, um, I hate to say it like this, but he basically said it wasn't a white religion. Yeah, that it transcended white folks. White folks took it and rebranded it.
They did.
And we know, yeah, yeah, because it started out like more for Jewish, not Jewish people, but more for the Gentile. Wait,
For the Hebrews.
Hebrews. It was a Hebrew holiday. I mean, holiday. It was a Hebrew religion, and then everybody kind of molded when they saw the popularity and attraction. They molded it to what they wanted it to be, so that they can, you know, carry out their agendas.
Yeah, it's like political, like the
Mm-hmm.
book of Eli when that guy wanted that Bible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
He
because
said,
he
"This
knew
is
it would
power."
help him to rule the way he wanted to rule. So in the end, I pretty much told him, look, I didn't mean for this to be an argumentative discussion. He wasn't arguing with me. He's a very sweet guy. His name is The Truth on Duty. You
Okay.
ever heard of him?
Mm-mm.
He is a very nice guy. His wife seems like good people. I never had a conversation with her, but I met him years before they were married, just through Instagram because
Mm-hmm.
he saw how many mutual friends we had and
Right.
wondered if he'd known me. And I was like, probably, you know, I'm so much younger than them, even though you can't tell now. We don't know how caught up. But he was just like, you know, I think that you might have been misinformed. The regular responses you get from Christians. Like they just refuse to open their mind to another possibility. And I get it because remember, we were there.
Yeah.
We were very
Mm-hmm.
much into,
We were in a cult.
well, no, I still don't think we had a cult. Others said that. I
We
get
were
it.
in a cult.
Well, Christianity might be as a whole a cult
Right.
because they will knock out any other detail than the ones that
Mm-hmm.
they're taught to look at.
But I think that's all religious. When you're talking about religion, it's basically it's a doctrine, but it has become dogma.
Mm.
You know, it's dogma. It's like this is the way it is, and I'm not going to think of it any other way.
Right. Well,
Which isn't a bad thing in some cases, but
you gotta let something in, at least to ponder. That's the difference between school and religious studies.
yeah.
When you're in school, everything's subjective and everything is, you know, okay, well, let's challenge this. Let's get some
Mm-hmm.
evidentiary support. Let's go over some journals. Let's, you know, compare and contrast. Even if we have to do the traditional um, Venn diagrams, you compare and contrast and you
Mm-hmm.
weed out the facts. You can't do that in religious talk unless you're ready to fight. It's no longer a debate, it's a literal fight.
I think it's always been a fight, and it's just you have to come back to everything's about control. Everything. Everything's about meeting an agenda. So the agenda is this is my religion. This is the right religion.
Right. And it I always think of when our old pastor used to say, "Come out from among them and be separate."
Mm-hmm.
It's like anything that kind of looked like you weren't going to be a separatist. Like if you agreed a little bit with that other, then you kind of were betraying that.
Right. You are.
And I did not want to fight with this kid. To bring it back to that, I did
Mm-hmm.
not want him to feel like I
Right.
wanted him to forsake everything he believed in because I never would have when I was there.
Right. And that's how I feel. Same way. Because I wouldn't have.
Right.
However, I put little things in it that I've learned because it always comes back down to when I first gave my life, maybe a year in a dream, God told me to read the book of Enoch.
Yeah, you told me about
Didn't know nothing about it.
that. Right.
So if that's the case, if what I've been told was, oh, we only have what we've been given, because that's all he wants us to know. I've heard those words,
right.
you know. So why am I being awakened in the night, told to read a certain chapter and book in the book of Enoch? And at that time, I didn't know it was the Bible. I'm looking and couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Until later, years later, I see it. I'm like, wow.
Hmm.
But
Well, with that said,
with that said,
so we're trying to come together. You know what made me want to make this video with Hope is because I was watching Instagram, and they said that was it South Korea? They now have something in place where you have to be credentialed to talk on the subject. So unless you're a medical doctor, you cannot talk about medical advice and medical opinions. And just, think of a field, you'd have to be skilled or someone in that field. And you can face fines or even be jailed now. And they just put that in place. I'm sure they'll have some time to roll it out because there's a lot of influencers now that literally that's their entire career. So imagine you just lost your job. So I think they're going to give them time to roll out the whole program. But it made me think of a good topic, and I said, "Hey, Hope, Mom, let's do something like that, and we could call it at least this episode, because if we do it again, this will just be an episode. Random thoughts of a teacher and a therapist, because my mom is a huge therapist and been a therapist for, I don't know, 88 years. How long you been a therapist?
Well, now you say 88 years. 88 years.
And I was a teacher's assistant for many, many, many years until I decided to go on ahead and become a teacher. And I'm in the thick of that right now. So I'm forever an educator, so I guess you could call it Random Thoughts of an Educator. At the end of the day, we are kind of credentialed to talk about things, at least from a master's degree standpoint, because we have education and we have life experiences at this point.
Well, I wanted to touch on that, what you were just saying. If there's a thing where you don't want to do harm and you want to stay within your scope of knowledge.
I've always said that.
So if you don't know it,
you shouldn't really talk on it.
You probably shouldn't, because it may hurt someone. Because basically, when you were talking about things being subjective and objective, it's kind of like you're basing this on what you think you know.
Right.
But you don't know the gist of it. Even I. Like, if someone comes in there telling me something's going on with them and I know that that's not my scope of knowledge, I refer them out.
Yeah. And that's what all therapists pretty much do, right?
They should.
Doctors too. They'll send you to a specialist and they'll say, you know what, I don't know. One thing I've learned, the more education I got, people who are educated are the first to say, I don't know. And it isn't an insult. Right. Before I even myself got my education, it was hard to say I don't know. It was hard to be wrong because you felt like you weren't smart unless you knew the answer. But being smart is knowing when you know the answer. If you know the answer, you talk on it factually. If you don't know the answer, it's a guess, and it can, like you said, be harmful if you're giving out guesses. So I guess what their politics are thinking out in South Korea might be right. They're kind of stopping the harm that's being passed around on social media. There needs to be some sort of safeguards.
Right. And it's also, every experience is different. Mm-hmm. It may seem the same, may feel the same, sound the same, but it's different.